pretty sure my neighbors think they're living by a freaking madman by this point. Alrighty guys, this is a Ficus religiosa, and it's a pretty important tree for Buddhists and Hindus around the world because it's considered to be a sacred tree. So sometimes it's referred to as a sacred figs or a Bodhi tree because this is the tree that Buddhists around the world believe that the Buddha attained enlightenment under. Well, not this tree, but the species of tree. But so I got this tree and I've been growing it for about 3 years, a little bit more than 3 years now. And as you can tell, it's pretty fast growing because I started out with pretty much just a stick, and it's just an incredibly fast growing species. The bays have developed really nicely as well. I pretty much, I mean, it's messy and it's a little bit wild, but I don't mind that because when I think of ficus, or at least tropical ficus tree, I think of sort of like a wild look because of their aerial roots and everything. But pretty much it got a nice nabari going on right now, and I achieved this by pretty much just slowly exposing the roots, and it's been doing pretty well. But right now it's just pretty much a big plant in a pot. There's not much going on, and I have to chop this down and repot this because I don't live in the tropics, and it's gonna be a problem for me to be able to store this in a greenhouse or even inside my house in the winter time because it's just so large. It grows very fast, and I've been growing this in big pot just to get more, to let it grow a little bit even thicker. But in actuality, I actually have to keep it more compact just so it's more manageable, at least, you know, in the winter time. And also right now all the growth is pretty much on top, and really I need to chop it back down so I could bring all the branches back down closer to the base, so it could thicken up that way instead of putting so much energy all the way at the top. You know, I love ficus tree, I really do. If I live in the tropics, I would probably just put them in the ground, really, even though they're kind of invasive. But since I don't, this is what I will have to work with. But more importantly, there's really no structure going on right now. As you can tell, it's just pretty much a stick, you know, going up. So I'm not gonna cut it too short, but it will be chopped down quite a bit just so I could bring, so it could just start back budding down here, and we can start training it, giving it some structure. It's gonna still be repot in a fairly large pot, not as big as this, and it's gonna be plastic. This is, gosh, I don't know what this is, but it's really heavy, and I really can't move this around too much, especially with the fact that I got a pretty bad back already. So yeah, regardless, it will just have to be more compact, and it will start training them. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and chop this down and repot this, and after that I will show you where we at. Oh, and another thing, these ficus trees roots extremely easily. So you know, if I just chopped right here, I could just pretty much stick it in some really good soil and keep it somewhere humid, and it will just roots. You can also root them in water or wherever you want to. I find that Ficus religiosa roots extremely easily, so I actually have way too many. But well, anyways. But yeah, so you know, if you got a ficus tree that you're trimming or pruning, and if you want to have more, just, you know, take cuttings, and you could use some rooting gel or rooting hormones. They're not really necessary just because they are already very easy to root, and the chance of you getting more trees just from rooting cuttings is pretty high. I don't have a lot of like you know, the success rate for it is pretty high. But anyway, so I'll go ahead and repot this, and I'll show what it looks like afterward. Alright guys, so I chopped down the two main branches, or the two main trunk, I guess, and it's kind of hard for me to try to prune things or chop things down while holding camera, just because I don't have really a way to do it. But I'm pretty much just gonna remove these front branches as well, just because it's covering the trunk, and you don't want that. You want to really show off the trunk, so I'm just pretty much just gonna prune them off. And sorry, I just dropped my phone. But anyway, these wounds will heal nicely without any problem. I don't use any sort of wound paste or anything like that. That's just not really necessary, because they do heal pretty. The sap alone is probably close up the wounds, and I don't use wound paste on a lot of the ficus tree. Just well, for once, I don't really need it unless it's a really big open wounds. But there are also some studies that show that these cutting paste might actually, in fact, trap bacteria and fungi, and keeping the tree from being able to heal naturally. So I don't use them. That's just my personal belief. Everybody does things differently. You must be wondering why there are all these little trees here on the side, and you know, I'm a little bit crazy when it comes to this sort of stuff, because these were actually also just cuttings that I just kind of stick in here, and they just root and grow, and that's not ideal. But sometimes when you just have too many plants, you get a little bit careless, I guess. But I'm thinking that I'm going ahead and remove this, because otherwise it just wouldn't look right to have 3 trunk going up. I wanted to keep it just because it was going to be symbolic. You know, in Buddhism they have the whole triple jewels, the Buddha, the teachings, and the Sangha. So I wanted to keep this, but right now I'm not really feeling it, and I think it's just gonna be really weird looking, so I'm just going ahead and remove it. But alright, I'm just gonna have to turn off the camera just because I can't do this while holding the phone. Alright, so this is another thing I want to show you guys. I actually just potted this Ficus religiosa in this pot just a couple months ago, and as you can tell, it's actually produced roots really well. It's in mostly a lot of bark, so you know, I found that at least for me, in my experience, that potting them in a lot of barks sort of help them have a lot of nice air pockets, and this really in turn help your ficus tree produce just really healthy roots. As you can tell, they're just massive amount in there. But if you do throw them in pots, one of the things they usually do is that they will escape their pot by growing down into the ground, and and this is just in a couple months. So as you can tell, it's pretty aggressive, and this is why it's probably considered to be very invasive. But it's a really aggressive root system, and this is kind of nice too if you're growing in pot, because once the roots sort of escaped into the soil, it sort of signals the tree to kind of grow without any sort of restrictions. If the tree don't have any ways for their root to extend, it will sort of signal the tree to sort of slow down the growth. I believe this is just a survival mechanism. There is a whole studies on that, but any trees that are in pots will quickly grow to the sides of their pot, and then once it's, you know, fill it up, it will just sort of slow down its growth. And so this is a principle that we use in bonsai to pretty much keep our tree miniaturized. But if you have to grow your tree in pot, for example, during growing seasons, I actually let a lot of my trees grow into the ground, and this way it can speed up the growth, especially those trees that I'm growing out. and this will speed up their growth, and by the end of season I could just simply, you know, push it over and just chop them off and put them in the greenhouse, and they're usually okay. Sometimes they do go into a little bit of shock if you let them stay there for too long, but I've seen trees where they literally escaped their pots and then just crack the pot open over time, and you know, because the root just sticking up so much, and trees are pretty incredible. You wouldn't think a tree with their roots could, you know, break something this hard, but they do, and that's just one of the things I really love about trees. My local greenhouse, there is a local greenhouse around here, and they got some ficus tree. It's not Ficus religiosa, it's just Ficus microcarpa or something, or Benjamina, but they have it in a pot, and it's been sitting on the ground for so long that, you know, no one bought it. It just escaped into the ground and just grown to this massive tree and shattered their pots, and it's pretty impressive. This is one of the things I love about ficus tree. They're just incredible species, and just a, you know, I mean, their survival, whatever, is just incredible. But all right, I'll get back to try to get this out of here. It's a little heavy. All right, so I kid you not when I said that I pretty much wrestled this tree out of its pot, and you can tell there's a lot of roots on it, and I'm pretty sure my neighbors think they're living by a freaking madman by this point. Just seeing me rolling this pot around the yard and try to wrestle it out, I must have terrified them. Oh my gosh. But there you go. So look at that root system. Oh my gosh, it is incredible. Just impressive. I love it. Well, we are going to have to saw it off some, just so we could pot it in something more shallower, but there you go. Alrighty. And these are the larger ones that I have chopped off on top. You can tell they're a pretty good size, and I'll just root them, and they'll be great trees. Honestly, I have too many already, but I'll find something to do with them. They're great, they're looking healthy, and they should have no problem rooting. I may just root these in water, just because I don't really have a place to really you know, put them in a pot and keep them humid at the moment. So I'll just have them in water, and they should have no problem rooting. You'll just have to make sure, if you do root them in water, that you change the water often, every 2-3 days or daily or whenever. What this does is just pretty much make sure the water stay clean and oxygenated so it doesn't rot away. All right. Alrighty guys, so the tree is repotted, and this is actually just a plastic pot, but it looks pretty nice. I think I had to remove, about half of the roots mass that were on there, and make sure to just trim up all the roots around as well and loosen up the soil. This way we'll get stimulation for new roots to grow into the new soil. As you can tell, the tree is also potted a little higher up, just to get a little bit more exposed roots for a more dramatic and impressive look. So I kept the soil level, the soil level a little higher as well, just to make sure the newly exposed roots not get dried out. So this way it will have some time to harden off before, you know, if we want to lower the level of the soil again. But otherwise, I think this is a great start. I mean, there's not a whole lot going on now other than just pretty much a chopped down stump, but it should recover really nicely. I will keep it in the greenhouse in the shade for the time being, just because that way it's not going to be in the full sun and get scorched. We got some pretty brutal heat waves this year. I think there was one day that we hit 111 degrees Fahrenheit, so that was pretty hot and Even some of my sun-loving species got scorched pretty badly. However, Ficus religiosas and a few different ficus species actually did pretty well. There were minimal to no scorching, but regardless, I'll just keep it in the shades for the time being. And once we get new growth, I will acclimate it back out into full sun because it does grow better in full sun. But yeah, I think that's it, and I'll just make any updates as we go along, so make sure you subscribe to the channel. This way you'll get notifications for any new videos. But yeah, so I guess I'll just see you guys next time. Thank you very much for watching, guys.